Yeah, so this is the door where Vincent must have been gone through, because right behind was his room at the Navy Yard where his uncle was director. So it's easy to retrace Vincent's footsteps as a 24-year-old guy in Amsterdam, the Amsterdam of 1877. But what brought Vincent to Amsterdam? We delve into the life and art of Van Gogh and follow his path. From his Dutch beginnings to his last days in France, we try to portray every phase of Vincent's life. We stand on the ground that inspired his iconic canvases and see the landscapes that fueled his artistic spirit. This is the story of Vincent van Gogh. Follow us on this artistic journey. Vincent van Gogh was 24 years old when he arrived here in Amsterdam. And thanks to his letters to Theo, his younger brother, and his accounts of family members who lived here, we can retrace his footsteps in Amsterdam and paint a picture of Vincent in Amsterdam. But what was it that brought Vincent to the city in the first place? Vincent actually had no idea what to do with his life. He grew up as the eldest son in a strict Protestant family in an otherwise Catholic Zundert. His father was a Protestant preacher, so in the village the family was a religious outsider. After a not-so-successful school career, Vincent leaves the Catholic south of the Netherlands behind and goes to The Hague. Vincent was only 16 years old. In The Hague, his first job was at Goupil & Company, an art and print dealer. His uncle Vincent, a brother of his father, was a partner. His first job takes Vincent to London and Paris, where Goupil & Co. had branches. In his 6 years at his uncle's firm, he is captivated by art. But instead of selling art, he criticizes art, and not always very positive. Vincent's younger brother Theo would last longer with Goupil. The two always wrote about art in their letters to each other. After his discharge from Goupil, Vincent left for Ramsgate in England to work as a teacher. That adventure only lasted a few months, and back in the Netherlands he found a job at a bookstore in Dordrecht. Actually, he was at a dead end. He had no idea what to do with his life. Ultimately, the job at the bookstore also not really his thing, so he decides to follow his father's footsteps to also become a preacher. But to be admitted to the university, he must take an entrance exam. And this brings Vincent to Amsterdam. He will prepare for this entrance examination in Amsterdam, and here he will get a room in the house of Uncle Jan van Gogh. He lives at the grounds of the Navy Yard at Kattenburg, and Van Gogh is another brother of Vincent's father, and he's the director of the shipyard and holds the rank of a rear admiral. It's quite easy to retrace Vincent's footsteps in Amsterdam. From the Navy Yard, it's a short walk to the Jonas Daniel Meijerplein. Here he receives lessons in the classical languages from Maurits Benjamin Mendes da Costa, a man of prestige in Amsterdam intellectual circles. Well, besides his Uncle Jan, he has more uncles in Amsterdam. He will visit them regularly during his stay in the city. And his second uncle in Amsterdam was art dealer Cornelis van Gogh. He had a book and art store at the Leidsestraat, and given his great interest in books and art, it's understandable that Vincent also regularly visits his uncle Cor. He sometimes gives him a stack of waste paper on which Vincent writes his lessons at the back. Because this is, of course, the main reason for his stay in Amsterdam: study. The third uncle who would help him with his studies is the then well-known Amsterdam pastor Johannes Paulus Stricker. He is called Uncle Stricker by Vincent. He is married to a sister of Vincent's mother. The couple lives here at Gelderse Kade 77. Now it's funny to walk through Amsterdam through the eyes of Vincent van Gogh when Vincent lived here in those 14 months in 1878. Amsterdam, when Vincent lived here, was at the verge of a huge economic boom. So a lot of buildings that Vincent saw and visited are gone in favor of more modern, late 19th century buildings. And yeah, Vincent had already left Amsterdam back then. Yet still, if you walk through Amsterdam, you can recognize a lot of what Vincent saw in the city. Just 3-4 years before Vincent visited Amsterdam, there was another artist that also visited Amsterdam, a French artist, Claude Monet. And Claude Monet, he made 12 paintings in the city, and you can really sort of see where he was at that time. Well, when Monet visited Amsterdam 150 years ago, Amsterdam was a dormant city, a grand old lady. The irony is that Monet painted in this new style, Impressionism. And Vincent would only see that years later during his time in Paris. But yeah, they just missed each other on 3 years. Too bad. If you want to keep track on Vincent, then you may want to register, you want to subscribe at YouTube at this page, and then, well, if there's a new episode online, you will be the first to know and the first to enjoy it. So hit that button, do the thumbs up, and do all the things that you do on YouTube. Now, in the 30 letters that Vincent wrote to his brother Theo, you can actually paint the picture of his life in Amsterdam. And it was clear that he was struggling. He was struggling with his studies, and he was easily distracted by all the temptations Amsterdam had to offer. Vincent made long wanderings through the city and just outside of the city, and he rather visits his uncles. And he visited the Trippenhuis, the forerunner of the Rijksmuseum. And he was happy to find the house where Rembrandt once lived. Back then, the Rembrandt house was not yet a museum, so he was very excited about that, and he wrote about that to his brother. Meanwhile, his studies did not go well. In fact, Benjamin Mendes da Costa, he wrote to Vincent's parents saying, it's not going to happen. He's not going to pass the exam. And to avoid further struggling, you better just abort the studies. So that is exactly what happened. Vincent stopped his studies and he left Amsterdam. So that was the end of Vincent in Amsterdam, but not for good. He will be back. 7 years later, in October 1885, Vincent returned to Amsterdam for a short visit, but not as a struggling student, but as an emerging artist. This time, his focus was not on the school books, but on the works of the Dutch masters in the Rijksmuseum. While waiting for a friend at the train station, Vincent sneaked into the city to make a small painting of the single and the new Lutheran church. The paint must still have been wet when he subsequently entered the newly built Rijksmuseum. In the next episode, we're going to see how Vincent becomes an artist and where he makes his most iconic paintings, just before he leaves for Paris. Stay tuned and see you in the next episode.